and welcome to Jigsaw Shed. Now, this video is out a lot later than I intended it to be, mainly because life took over. With the school holiday starting, my increased hours at work, and yeah, having to look after the kids. And throw in a holiday in there as well. I didn't get enough time for the editing. So, this project was a teacher's gift. As I mentioned, end of term. And my daughter needed some gifts to give to a teacher. So I decided I'm gonna play around with texture and color and make a little, make a butt vase. So let's get going. So I rough turned a piece of ash, and once it could fit in the chuck, I decided to hollow it with the Jacob's chuck and a Forstner bit. Now, only went as deep as a Forstner bit would allow me before then turning the main shape. I didn't want to turn the main shape first because it was going to be a stem, and I was just worried that the forces applied by the hollowing would then shear it off. So just to play it safe, I decided to go this way. Obviously a little catch, it came loose and just had to reset it all again. So at this point I am just working away to try and find the main shape of the top of the vase that I'm going for, after which I will move on to some hollowing. Now there were some grooves appearing, mainly because there was chatter with the tool, where I was turning from the bark element, the softer part, onto harder wood as well, and I was turning quickly. So at the top as well, in the thin section, there was a bit more chatter because of vibration as well, but I wasn't worried too much about this because I was going to texture the whole piece anyway, so grooves weren't going to matter. So I moved on to using the Simon Hope Pro Hollower just to get in there. Now it was quite tight, and I did have a few catches inside which made the tool jump a little, but luckily it didn't damage the top part. And now it's moving down to the bottom part, the stem of the vase, and getting towards the shape that I want. And then just to give me space to work on the bottom end of the vase, I used the parting tool to create a bit of a gap, and then I could work in with sandpaper, but also when I was doing the texturing it wouldn't affect the other side, so obviously parting off later became a lot simpler. And then it was time to crack out the Dremel and get texturing. Now I used a lot of bits here and a lot of fun with this, but if you've got any questions about the bits that I'm using, leave me a comment down below and I will do my best to answer your questions. But obviously just using the sanding band here and applying a random texture. Now, as the Dremel Max sanding band is quite rough, I did go over some of the texture with a finer grit as well. And then moving on to using the 114 bit to just create little dimples in sort of a spiral around the piece, around the stem. Now, I didn't have a specific plan in mind with how I was texturing. I was just enjoying it and letting that fun part take me on a journey. So a few times I had to pause and think, am I going to do something different here? And yeah, ultimately, initially I wasn't going to texture the whole piece, but that's how it turned out. So just using some of the abrasive buffing pads just to clean up some of the rougher texture itself. So at this point I changed my mind and decided to carve little leaf effects into the bulb of a plant, basically. So like a tulip or something. So doing this while the lathe was running gave a fine texture, and then I just continued to detail it even further while the lathe was stopped. So I wasn't going to go any further with the texturing here, so I decided to seal the whole piece and then move on to the next stages. Now this came from Aldi in the UK, and I had it lying around, so I thought I'll give it a go. Colour the inside of the vase completely, a copper colour. It did need a good shaking. And now moving on to using Jo Sonja's black gesso. I was initially going to tape off the areas and use the ebonizing lacquer from Chestnut Products, but then I remembered I had this, so I started painting that on in the pattern. So initially I was just going to do certain parts of the vase black with colour and maybe leave some parts natural or something, but you will see in a moment I changed my mind and started painting the whole thing. So you can probably guess where I'm heading now that I've cracked out the metal leaf size, and the fact that I've got some Chameleon flakes from Emma the Tiny Turner. Now, I didn't want to cover the whole piece in size because I wanted to do it in segments, otherwise the colours I'd be using will cover everything rather than in the areas where I need it. So I started with the top of the bulb and the foot of the vase itself. So on the foot of the piece I decided to go for the gin and dragon colours and sort of make a blend of the two, which worked really well, as they were fairly similar in nature but just each giving a slightly different effect. Now the other person you can see there is my dad, who just came and looked at what I was doing as they were visiting. And then it was Phoenix and Chimera for the top of the bulb. So then it was time to move on to the spiral that I created, and for this I used the Mermaid and Kraken colours, but unfortunately I forgot to press record, so you can see it done there. And now, as the Chameleon flakes are very shiny and bright, I decided to offset the colour slightly and use Jo Sonja's green from the iridescent range to do the rest of it. And you will see that at the end of how that turned out. So once everything had dried, it was time to part it off. Now I only took it to a certain depth before using a saw to take it off the lathe. I wasn't going to do the thing of trying to catch it in my hand while using the parting tool, because, well, mainly out of fear of damaging the paint. So once it came off, I then just had to use my Dremel tool to clean up the base, and then I applied 1 coat of acrylic gloss lacquer. Now the lacquer did dull some of the color on the Chameleon flakes a little bit, but it was enough to seal it in and protect it. Well, thank you for joining me in Jigsaw Shed. So there's a textured butt vase. I had a lot of fun playing around with the texture and the colours. Obviously the Chameleon flakes are very vibrant, with the Jo Sonja's iridescent paint slightly less so, but still very much in keeping with the piece and just helping to offset the band of colour there. I hope you liked it. If you did, please give the video a thumbs up, leave me a comment down below, and remember to subscribe to my channel. Now, this will be a teacher's gift, as it's my daughter's last day today, but I just need to find some flowers to put in there as well. So it will be fake flowers, as I can't really have water in there. But as is other teachers in her class, I had also created a couple of pens. So the wood on these pens, a cherry wood, which comes from the school, so I thought that would make a really nice gift. But yeah, there's a Taylor Murfield's Zeta, and then just a slimline pen from the kit that I got from Taylor's Murfield before. But yeah, really enjoyed doing those as well. Didn't film them as half-turned pens before, and I really needed to get these done. But anyway, I hope to see you next time. Take care for now.